Joining us now here in studio is Congressman Adam Schiff. He is the top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee in the House of Representatives. Congressman, thank you very much for being here.
Good to be with you.
Since we last spoke, the campaign chairman for this president has been indicted, as has his deputy, Rick Gates. We've had a lot of other journalistic news break about Manafort, Flynn, Gates, and others. So I realize you never talk about anything in terms of your ongoing investigation. You certainly can't talk about classified matters, but I want to get your help on understanding the significance of some of this stuff. First, let me ask you about the reports that we had over Thanksgiving break that retired General Mike Flynn's legal team has told the White House that they will no longer coordinate with them, no longer work with them in terms of the White House legal defense on the Russia investigation and Flynn's legal defense. They have now decided to take different paths. What does that mean?
I think that what it likely means is that the Flynn investigation is at a critical point where he's either going to be indicted or he's going to agree to some plea agreement, potentially with lesser charges towards him or his son in exchange for cooperation. And whether this is a written joint defense agreement or an oral one, basically there is now a potential conflict of interest between his interests and his son's and the rest of the team.
Okay.
You would expect that he and others around the White House would be in that kind of joint defense. Gives them the ability to coordinate their efforts, to review documents, discuss this all, and effectively shield it by attorney-client privilege. But once one of those people starts entering serious discussions or negotiations that may put them at a conflict, in other words, if he has something to say about any of the others, then he needs to opt out of that agreement, and that may very well be what's happening.
A lot of what has been reported about Flynn's potential legal jeopardy has been about not necessarily his relationship with Russia, although there's certainly a lot there as well, but about his relationship with Turkey. He did paid work on behalf of the government of Turkey. He belatedly, retroactively registered as a foreign agent after he had been forced to resign from the White House. Your investigation on the House Intelligence Committee, are you limited to looking just at Russia specifically, or is any of these issues about Turkey or other potential foreign governments, have any of those been folded into your work?
Well, I wish that they were, because the reality is that the Government Reform Committee is not aggressively pursuing this. The chairman is not looking at things. He has a new definition of the jurisdiction of his committee, and if it involves potentially illegality, I guess the Government Reform Committee is no longer in the business of oversight.
This is Chairman Trey Gowdy of the Oversight
Committee. That's a startling different interpretation than during Benghazi, but nonetheless, it is what it is. Their committee is really not aggressively investigating this, but neither is ours. Now, we have dozens of witnesses that we still need to bring in that are central to the Russian investigation that we haven't gotten approval to bring before our committee, let alone witnesses that would go to whether Flynn was involved in a extrajudicial rendering of this cleric.
AKA kidnapping.
Kidnapping, and as well as receipt of foreign funds and acting as an unregistered agent of a foreign power. Someone needs to look at this in Congress. It can't be or shouldn't be just Bob Mueller for the purpose of prosecution. We ought to be looking at this for the purposes of oversight and for the purpose of telling the country what he did and what happened. But right now, that is really not happening.
Speaking of witnesses in your committee, you are about to have two very controversial, very interesting witnesses come before the committee. If you could stick with us for just a second, we'll take a break and come back and talk about that with Congressman Adam Schiff, top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee. We'll be right back with him right after.